Hello and welcome to the Shootout. Tom Coolican, we are into the final 3 weeks of the regular season. Round 16 is just about upon us. We have a clear top 6, but certainly not done and dusted for a handful of sides still.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great round of rugby all across Sydney. The Battle of the North at North Sydney Oval was an absolute doozy. Gordon too good for North, but there were close games and fixtures all over Sydney, which is what you want to see, particularly with the Super Rugby players and some Wallabies coming back, over the course of the round, which is exciting to see.
Our match of the round this weekend is Warringah hosting Sydney University. Can't wait to chat about that one a bit later. And our guest this week is Warringah flyhalf Byron Smith, back and doing great things with the Rats in his first year in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. We're also catching up with Drew Tonks from a ref's room perspective. Drew is officiating that one, the match of the round on 9Gem and 9 Now. As always, like, subscribe, let us know what you think of the show. In a couple of weeks, we'll be starting to look at whether we can come back for another season. So any support would be greatly appreciated. But coolo, into the reviews. Round 15 of the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. As you mentioned, plenty to like across the competition, but at North Sydney Oval, Gordon showed that they really do belong in that top 3.
It's a clear statement from Gordon. I think both sides coming off a loss. West Harbour defeating North 33-28. And then, Gordon going down to University. They were dusted on that day at home, to be candid. Clearly, though, two sides took away that loss a little bit differently. I thought it was a really disappointing turnout from Norths at their home ground. Gordon came out swinging, immediately off the kickoff. They were really fired up. Those urgency plays, those lineouts, those breakdowns, every opportunity to compete. Gordon competed in numbers. They did really well. And, no bigger opportunity for that was the Tarval try of the line-out early on off the kickoff. And we saw University go after Gordon's line-out, but you can see Gordon have rebuilt, they've done their work. It was a great try to kick things off. And, a few minutes later, it was a boxing from Albert, Hardy crashing through, and that was absolutely brilliant play. Just urgency. Gordon there in numbers. And then sure enough, Connor Faranisi as well crashing over. Just clear desire. Big Gordon pack there in numbers crashing over. Before you knew it, Gordon were up 19-0. That was something which nobody expected. And they turned to Bar, who crashed over the 36th minute, and he's been their go-to all season. He's the guy who's been running that north-south rugby, straightening up the line. And, with no Max Bury, he's been critical to their side. I thought what was really surprising, though, was the north set piece, which has been brilliant all season. At scrum time, Gordon fronted up. They rolled up their sleeves. They got to work. Their maul was brilliant. Their line-out was brilliant. It took North probably 30 or 40 minutes to start to compete in the air, which is just so unusual, given that we saw, University take, 40 to 45% of Gordon's line-out last week in critical 5-metre zones. North weren't competing. It made no sense. And also at scrum time, Gordon got to work. And this is where I thought Trevor Hosea, who really came into his element, scoring 2 tries in the second half, that brilliant flying mullet, those high knees, just charging on that right wing. It got the whole crowd involved. It was a bit of a throwback, seeing him in full flight. And as he acclimatises to the Shute Shield and to this Gordon pack, he really inserted himself, and he was absolutely brilliant for me. But also, I think it wasn't that 50th minute, where the game was in a bit of a balance. Presley Tafunga off the bench, Cam Wood off the bench. These are big injections, big impact players. Everand was yellow carded. That was disappointing. Which Gordon obviously capitalised on. With those fresh legs. Well, I thought Kieran Curran was really good. He added a lot to the side. I thought Jamie Clark off the bench was good. I thought Sam Kitchen was good off the bench. James Margan was good. But for North, just it hasn't been their season. They haven't been able to get momentum. They haven't been able to get into gear and get a roll on. You've seen a couple of wins here and there. But for Gordon, it's a massive bounce back for them. And as they head into the final part of the season, in the right part of the lane, that top 4, which is where you want to be, I think they'll be quietly optimistic. They've got Harrison Goddard starting at halfback this week, which is a massive in as well. Talked about the impact of Trevor Hosea, Presley Tafunga off the bench as well. I'm bullish about Gordon. That was a massive win, 43-19 in the Battle of the North away. I'm optimistic about their chances and the ability to upset sides going into the finals.
It was a real depth statement too, wasn't it, as you said? And we'll look at their lineup and the ability to start to rotate a few players in ahead of finals. But Manly 42, Hunter Wildfires 28. It came alive after 15 minutes. Both forward packs set a good platform, driving the ball forwards towards points. TJ Talaleva's ball skills are great. He has so much in his bag, was instrumental in Hunter's start, as he is in most of what they do. But Manly's second try was delightful. Some great offloading of their own, sheer determination from Billy Dickens, as is his way. It was 3 converted tries apiece at half-time after Manly's maul try. Then in the second half, Dickens and Dillon did what they do. Probing, great vision, variety and intent. Caden Neville then scored Marlin's second of the half. They led 35-21. Simon Kennewer was good down the stretch, and Manly and Hunter both somewhat did what they've done this year in terms of Manly's showing of promise and keeping in touch, and they do that. Their season is still alive, and Hunter missing an opportunity to make a statement, and subsequently off the back of that, instead of climbing, they drop down the standings, and it's a really tough slog for Hunter from here, but a tough away day. Manly at home are starting to really enjoy those conditions as well. So a good win for Manly, 42-28. Coolo Uni, 54, Southern Districts 33. Southern Districts, again, really good. Uni are coming into their own, though, aren't they?
Look, they're quietly emerging as this dark horse side outside of Eastern Warringah, and they're getting the momentum which you really do need. You know, at this time of the season, they're getting some key players back, but don't underestimate the combinations and cohesion that's really starting to develop. You know, under Joe Fowler and Ollie Schmood, that's for me has been the catalyst for the ascendancy of this side. Not just the Wallabies coming back, you know, Flyhalf and Matt Phillip, but it's Joe Fowler and Ollie Schmood. And look, this university side, 26-0, they're up after 16 minutes. Benji Jocelyn, that 3 tries, 19 tries this season. That's 1.9 tries per game. Look, slick hands from Fowler and Fokker-Finau. And Fokker-Finau, for me, has been a real kind of secret sauce to this university side since they put him to 13. He's just straightened up the attack a little bit, add a little bit more width, a little bit more of that sort of outside New Zealand style pressure, you know, at the line. He's been absolutely brilliant. But it was interesting there, though. South didn't go into their shell, which they often do. They came back fighting, and we've seen universities really Achilles heel. We saw that particularly versus Hunter. I think it was in round 3. We saw that Eastwood in June, I think in round 9, is their edge defence around rucks. And it can be in midfield, but also close to the line. I thought South did a really, really good job crashing over. Adam Arklay was absolutely brilliant close to the line. But Mason Duke was brilliant as well. You know, they're big players rolling up their sleeves and getting to work. And they're going into half-time, 33-28, which, you know, given where things are at, you know, 26-0 after 16 minutes, that's a brilliant turnaround, just indication of the fight in the South side and the willingness of them to stay and compete for, you know, for as long as they did. Chip and chase, first play pretty much of the second half from Joey Fowler. Bounce of the ball, could have gone anywhere. It went into Tom Lambert's hand, and there was a slight knock on from South. Had that sort of gone through into the hands of the South player, 14-point turnaround. You know, I think Lambert found Allsop, who found Jocelyn, who crashed over for his second try. You know, Uni then hit a 12-point lead. Darcy Breen off the bench, Sam Allsop off the bench. A late try to Jack Davis, you know, off the back of those tries, and on to Morrison. Consolation try to Jackson Hayde, who was brilliant for South as well in the second half. Look, take nothing away here from South. They competed in this game. You know, the fact that they were in at 33-28 at half-time was a brilliant to their resilience. Regardless, University fresh legs came on, but the kind of win that you want going into a game versus Warringah and Easts, toughest fortnight in the Shute Shield and perhaps in World Rugby for them. They've got Warringah and Easts away, so it's going to certainly test their ability to win away from the birthplace. But, you know, talking to their coaches during the week, they've got the cavalry, they've got the cattle, and they've got combinations of cohesion with Fowler and Schmood. So keep an eye on the students. I know Coach Ben Batcher and Josh Holmes most certainly are.
Yeah, no kidding. The Two Blues 31, Eastern Suburbs 33. Twice this season, the Two Blues have pushed Eastern Suburbs the whole way. I said it after the first time they clashed. If it was anywhere but Wallara, Western Sydney would have won that one. This time they're at Holroyd Sports Ground. The Two Blues were great early, great all game really, and scored the opening 2 tries. Braden Stewart down the wing is terrifying as always, just hanging out, causing chaos out on the wing. And then a sweeping play, which Mungalongo finished, had them 2-0 up. East hit back, made it 14-all at halftime. 2 tries to nil, I should emphasise there. 14-all at halftime, but look, East knew they weren't on the synthetic out at Holroyd's. It was a delightful kick through from Isaac Tetamaki to put Cody Nordstrom in and give Nordstrom good reward for his efforts. The Two Blues were up 21-19 at that point. East went ahead 26-19 after a tap. Two Blues not necessarily getting back after a try had been saved, and East took advantage of that, and then a tense old finish. A lot on the line for the Two Blues, including the big scalp of Eastern Suburbs. Nordstrom continued his great game, putting Dolakoto over. Yona converted from the sideline, returning from his international stint. It was 28-26 with 18 minutes to play. The two Blues kicked a penalty from right in front with 6 minutes remaining. Isley then scored a few phases off a line-out. Camu Valentini converted for the 2-point lead. There was a turnover at the death as the two Blues were surging. A huge number of phases strung together. Josh Farlotu on the ball. Was he the tackler? Did he release? Dru Tonks was right there. The camera angles at Holroyd are terrible to really have any idea of detail. So watching the match replay, it's hard to really say anything other than you've got to back the referee in that space. Easts win, bonus point for the two Blues, bonus points rather, still a hard task for them to chase the top six, but they've produced another great performance. You talk about it not being North's year, it sort of feels a little bit similar from a two Blues perspective. Another great performance from them. We head Kulo to Rat Park, Warringah 38, Eastwood 17.
Didn't Warringah sort of look back to their usual self with Byron Smith at 10? Perhaps what they've been missing is just that stable sort of ability of a 10 to square the line up and take the ball to the line, which I think they've missed these last few weeks. And no better example, I think, the second minute. Lovely little pass there from Byron Smith over the top to left as he found Wes Thomas, the hooker, who crashed over his first of two tries in the first half. And then what better than Byron Smith slotting a kick like from the corner, the absolute, inches in from the touchline. At Rat Park, which is never easy to do, so clear the hamstring's healing well. 16th minute, an overthrow there, from the line out, and Wes Thomas, you can see him just picking it like a half volley outside off stump, off his ankles and crashed over as well. And then before you knew it, after another try there from Fuinui, who found some space on the fringe of the ruck after some brilliant, just like breakdown execution from the Rats, and that's what they've done all season. And they get a lot of compliments for their ability, the Barnabases and the Luke Reimers on defence, but it's on attack. The ability of that inside man to just be so tight on the ball carrier and to be so accurate at clean out and drive a quick ball, on a platter for Fuinui, who crashed over. Before you knew it, it's 21-0. Eastwood all the chasing, do a lot of scoreboard pressure, and you can see there off a line break from LeBron Naya, it almost looked like the Rats going to score again, but Goddard with a lovely little turnover. Kick the ball into open space, like right on the cusp of hard time. It's like a critical moment in that game. Poor Dylan Nelson missed it clean. Big fat air swing there with his right foot. But Goddard came through and found Jai Griffin crashing over on the left edge. And that was my mention that I think that this side really needed going into the sheds. They're a confident side, Eastwood. That's how they play. And, they really rely on Coach Anthony Griffin and his rev up. They always come out swinging the start second half. And that try is what they needed to really do that. I think Narcissan there with a lovely sort of square up and dummy at the line. We haven't seen enough of probably, Roderick Evans at times taking the ball to the line, playing that really square attack from a 10, which you love to see. We see it from Joe Dillon. We start to see it from Joe Fowler, Byron Smith, like at Shute Shield. It's just so critical that your 10 is squaring up the attacking, the defensive line, and is being a genuine threat at the line to create those overlaps out wide. It was a great try there. And then Shelley with a little three-pointer as well. And suddenly it's game on, 21-17. Eastwood were very much in the contest. 65 minutes, and the Warringah just rolled up their sleeves. And we've seen this from Eastwood all game, all season rather, is their ability to stay in the fight, in the contest for 65 minutes. But to go the 80 is such a tough ask. Scott Young came on, a lot of words about what clubs he was going to play for, but, came on and made a bit of a difference, a bit of impact there. But, you look at the side, Goddard playing 80 minutes tight at prop. That's a massive ask. Big legs, big shift from those guys. I think it was a try by Redder and a try by Barnabas in the closing minutes. I think the Eastwood side did a wonderful job to stay as close as they did for 65 minutes with a really good Rats side. Touched upon Griffin, Diggai, Goddard, have all been brilliant, but it's just a big ask to go week in, week out, 80 minutes in the tight five, not to have those fresh legs coming off the bench. So, look, Eastwood still in the top six, just. It's going to be a battle for them to stay there. We're seeing Warringah going the right way. It's going to be a tough ask for them, but not a bad outing, all things considered, 38-17 at Rat Park against the defending premiers, Will.
West Harbour 19, Randwick 33. West Harbour's dream run stops for the time being, but again, a lot to like from the Pirates and how they're going about things, building towards next year now as well. West Harbour scored first and then defended brilliantly under a massive siege from Randwick. They're looking great, Randwick. They really are deep. Into it now too by the look of things, and for all the good things West Harbour were doing, Randwick dominated territory and possession. Short and Hendren, Kellaway probing, the Chan brothers carrying with venom, the forwards with good skills, speed and mobility. Poitevin started was great. Randwick led 7-28 at the break. Maybury got his second to start the next half after a line-out move at halfway. Randwick were up 33-7. West Harbour fought, hung in the game really well. Samu scored a try, then saved another one, and then Bennett scored a late try to make it 19-33. But as I said, for all the good things West Harbour did, Randwick just slightly on top in so many of the areas and really dominant. They're a big watch, as we've touched on over the past month, the way they are building. So, Coolo, that is round 15 in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Keen to just touch on the presence of a very important person in Australian rugby at Concord, and it wasn't Angus Gardner hitting the concession stand for the double dog this weekend. It was Wallabies coach Les Kiss at the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield just 2 or 3 days after taking the top job in men's rugby in Australia. Watching Pete Samu, Andrew Kellaway and everything at the Shute Shield, it's just great to see, not just from a Les Kiss perspective, but that the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield can continue to give players the platform to show what they're capable of ahead of some big tests.
Well, what more do you want, right? You know, you've got 2 Wallabies who are applying their trade, you know, in the Shute Shield out at Concord Oval, and you've got the Wallaby coach there. You've also got Phil Wall over at North Gordon. You know, he's out there at half time, you know, coaching and refereeing. Hopefully Angus Gardner was on the sideline there chipping away at his observations. But that's what you want. The 2 most senior representatives of our game in our country are at the Shute Shield on a Saturday afternoon. So I know there's a lot of armchair critics criticising the disconnect between Rugby Australia and the Shute Shield, but it's hard to argue. They're putting the money where their mouth is. They're at the games. They're watching players. They're contributing. They're with the juniors at a grassroots level. You know, talk about the unofficial KPI of how many kids are on the field at half time. I counted about 40. I counted about 5 adults and 1 CEO of Rugby Australia. So I think from that perspective of bridging the gaps between the professional and amateur games, it's about what more do you want? You know, it's brilliant.
Absolutely. Well, we will now turn our attention to what's coming up this weekend, starting with our match of the round on 9gem and 9 now, a Stan Sport as well. But Warringah hosting Sydney Uni. We are a long way from that round 1 drubbing Warringah dished out at Sydney Uni. Our match of the round in round 16 of the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield is Warringah Rats hosting Sydney University at Rat Park. It's Tradies Day at Pittwater Rugby Park as well, and I'm very pleased to say joining us is Warringah flyhalf Byron Smith. Byron, hello, how are you?
Hey, good, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Thanks so much for your time and congrats on getting back out on the park. How's the body after the return and how nice was it to be back out on the field against Eastwood?
Yeah, it was nice. It was pretty frustrating, obviously, doing my hammy before the Manly game, but yeah, it's good to be back now.
The Warringah side right now is a different one in a lot of ways, certainly in a backline perspective from the one that you steered so capably around in the first half and drove them to that top 2 standing. What have you noticed differently about the Rat side from when you played with them in the first half of the season, if anything?
Oh, I think we probably had to improve our shape a little bit. I reckon in the first half of the season we probably just got away with like players like Jacko and Glenn just sort of being game breakers, whereas I think now we need to just be better as a team with our attack. And I think we improved on that against Eastwood on the weekend. But that's probably the main difference, I'd say, yeah.
I think, Byron, you know, talking to Josh Holmes earlier in the season, you were finding your feet in the Shute Shield. I thought you were brilliant in the game versus Bonnie University, 21 unanswered points the second half. You've grown with confidence, and we've seen how important you are as a player, you know, particularly when you've been absent. Are you finding your confidence in this Rat side in the Shute Shield?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think at the start of the season, it probably just took a while to transition from, obviously, the lads had Kobe last year who probably played a little bit different to me. So it just probably took a while to transition with the team and just try and like change our game a little bit just to sort of suit me. but also for me to change my game as well to suit the team, because the team was obviously successful last year as well.
You've obviously been out for a while. Your first touch was a lovely pass, I think, to Leffers, then little offload there to Wes Thomas in the corner, and then you slotted a goal from the corner. Talk about testing out the hamstring against the Northeasterly at Rat Park. How's the body feeling?
Yeah, no, it's been good. Luckily it wasn't my kicking leg, so it was my right leg. So I think it obviously takes
Your
a little
planting
longer.
leg.
Yeah, the planting leg, I guess. Yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, no, it's been all good. I felt a little bit slow. I don't know if you guys saw when they scored that try in the first half. I was chasing back and I probably didn't look too quick, but hopefully that'll be a bit better this week.
Mate, no one looks quick against Dylan Nelson. Don't worry about it. And he missed the ball anyway. It's the biggest air swing I've seen since Parksy on the first tee at East Lakes.
Byron, tell us a little bit about your journey in rugby, because you're from Brisbane, you went across to New Zealand. How did that move come about, and what was the joy and benefit for you from a rugby perspective over in New Zealand with Southland? And I think you were with the Blues under 20s as well, weren't you?
Yeah. I was just finishing school in 2021. I went to Nudgee College in Brisbane, which is a pretty good rugby school. And then I was finishing up, and I didn't really have any interest in Australia. And I was quite keen to sort of chase footy and see what could happen. And my agent just came to me and said, because my mum's from New Zealand, he was just going to have a look over there and see if anyone's keen. And then luckily enough, Auckland Academy sort of came through and said they were keen to have me for 2 years. So that's sort of how it came about. And then just the experience over there, it was unbelievable. I reckon I improved dramatically over there. I reckon the coaching, everything was it was pretty exceptional. I probably can't speak higher of the Auckland Academy, and then also my time with Southland.
So then you joined Warringah. How did that move come through, and how have you enjoyed the standard of the competition, the style of the competition? How would you place it against maybe an NPC? Because we've seen a lot of players go mid-season. Jackson Rapata has moved over, one of many. How do you sort of feel about the standard of the Shute Shield and what it can do for your game?
Yeah. Oh, it's obviously a really good comp. But I was finishing up in Southland, and then I was in Newcastle. My partner lives up there with her family, and we had a baby boy at the end of last year.
Hey, congrats!
No, thank you. Yeah, so I was sort of keen to stay in Australia, just so both of our families are over here, so just for that family support with the young family. So then it was sort of just about trying to find a clubs, close to Newcastle. And then that's where Warringah sort of came through and let us know that they were losing their number 10. So the spot sort of just opened up, which was good. And then I guess in comparison between Shute and NPC, I think Shute's awesome. I think it's a great comp and it's been really competitive. But yeah, I probably wouldn't compare it to NPC. I'd say NPC's it's a full time, it's professional. And some of those NPC teams like Canterbury, Tasman, Wellington, they're pretty much fielding Super Rugby teams. So yeah, I probably wouldn't say it's quite on the same standard, but it's definitely better than any of the club footy over there.
In terms of the fixture this weekend, Sydney University got a couple of Wallabies in their pack. Talk about Super Rugby players, and they've got essentially an all Super Rugby front row. A huge opportunity for the Rats, and big opportunity for your pack, who are going to have to definitely neutralise that threat as set piece. Are you looking forward to that opportunity?
Yeah, definitely. They've got a lot of Super Rugby players in their team, and a lot of guys involved with the Waratahs and etc. So yeah, it's a big opportunity for us, and I think I think our top five probably they probably didn't play the way they would have wanted to on the weekend. So I'd be expecting them to bounce back pretty well, and we've also I think Jaden Christian's back this week, so that'll help too.
You're looking forward to going up against, I guess, Joe Fowler, who's an up-and-coming Waratah player. You're a guy that's certainly trying to play trade at the top of the levels as well. Are you excited about that battle from a one-to-one perspective?
Yeah, definitely. I've watched a bit of his footage throughout this week, and he looks really good. He challenges the line, puts people into hot space. He's got a nice kicking game. So yeah, for me, it's opportunities against players that are contracted that I guess that can help me. And it's just going to be a good battle, I guess. Yeah.
Rat Park on a Saturday afternoon, sun shining to start the contest. What have you made of playing at Rat Park with the hillbillies and the local community getting behind you? And what's the message to anyone thinking about getting out there on Saturday?
Oh, it's awesome. Like, I reckon it's I've never played on a club ground like as nice as Rat Park. Like, it's got the hill around it. It's got a nice stand. I love it. And to anyone who's all the fans and stuff that want to come out, like, I definitely recommend it. It's our last home game. Sydney Uni, like, they're probably one of the form teams at the moment. So I think it's going to be a good game.
Set it up beautifully. Enjoy it, Byron. It's great to have you back out in the middle of the park, and we'll look forward to watching you, not just in the next few rounds of the regular season, but from a Rats perspective, hopefully you can take them nice and deep.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
Well, as we head towards the genuine business end of the season, it is a delight to have another Refs Room segment back, and I'm pleased to say we are joined by now 100-game Shute Shield referee Dru Tonks. Drew, how are you?
Yeah, thanks, Will. Very kind. Mate, great to be here. Thanks for having me back on the show. Looking forward to having a run this week down at Warringah. Should be a really good contest, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, can't wait to talk about that one in a little bit. But just generally, I mean, lots happened since we caught up with you last time on the Refs Room. How have you enjoyed the season so far?
Yeah, mate, it's been really good. I'm still really enjoying my refereeing and loving being involved at this level. It's always such a privilege to be involved at the Shute Shield with such a great competition. We've had games of recent where there's been some upsets and there's certainly been some really tight scorelines, and I really feel like one can beat 12th and 12th can beat one on their day. And so we see lots of really tight, interesting games, and obviously that scoreboard pressure is one thing for us as referees to be out there and sort of enjoying that aspect of it as well.
Congratulations on the 100-game milestone in the Blue Crown Capital Shute Shield. What does that mean to you? And maybe more importantly right now, how did you celebrate?
Yeah, mate, obviously I probably haven't reflected on it as much as I will in time, no doubt. But I think I'm really proud, mate, of the effort and sustained effort for a long time, particularly living up in Newcastle and having that sort of travel factor in there as well. Mate, in terms of celebrations, I was really lucky to have one of my good mates and friends in James Quinn up on the sideline for it. So he came up and we had a really nice dinner, and it was fortunate enough to have Tom Chadwick around as well. So, we sort of had a nice dinner, made a few drinks and enjoyed it. And more recently, I was actually stayed down last week in Sydney, and the guys in Sydney put on a bit of a show as well. So got to catch up at North Sydney and have a few drinks with the group, which was great, mate, because once again, I sort of don't get to see that and do that very often until kind of this back end of the year when we start to see each other a little bit more with finals and that kind of thing.
Lovely stuff. Very nice.
Yeah.
This time of year, players want to play in big games. We know that the standards and intensity of certain contests go up, the pressure as well. From a refereeing perspective, what do you notice about games at this time of the year, and how does that change potentially the way you officiate, if it does at all?
Yeah, Will, really good question, mate. I think for me, personally, of course, you notice the intensity, definitely. You can feel it pre-game and obviously out there in the middle. Generally, there's a little bit more of an atmosphere as well at some of the grounds and obviously the bigger games. But I think, mate, week to week, it probably doesn't change a lot. Like, I guess we're sort of treating every game like it is a semi-final in some respects, because even the early rounds games can have such impact on a team season. So I guess from an actual game perspective, it probably doesn't change too much, and it's probably more the context of the game that sort of presents itself in front of you, I reckon, Will. So and what I mean by that, if you've got a lopsided scoreline, for example, or you might change slightly in the way you're managing the game, looking to create a little bit more flow versus, say, a really wet weather kind of boggy game that, sometimes you need a decision to provide a bit of structure as well. So I think it's probably more, us adapting to what sort of presents in front of us, I would say, Will.
Players want to play in the big games, as I mentioned. Referees want to referee in the big games too. What's the vibe like around this time of year, and how does that battle, I suppose, because I know a lot of you are competitive and proud of what you do in terms of that selection, and how does that work for the big games towards the pointy end?
Yeah, mate. I guess, yeah, absolutely. Like, it's always great to be involved and get those opportunities to test yourself in those environments. That pressure is a privilege sort of attitude, I guess, is something I try and keep at the forefront for me. And once again, just to remind yourself, how lucky you are to be involved in this sort of level at this end of the season as well. In terms of selection, mate, like it's really kind of out of your control, really. It really does come down to what the management committee are sort of seeing and how they're making their decisions on performances. So I guess, mate, the things you can control are sort of how you are mentally and physically, and just try and put out the best version of yourself and be as consistent as you possibly can. I guess that's probably what's going to give you the best chance of getting picked in those big games. And we're super lucky to work. I guess in more of a pod sort of situation at the back end of the season as well, versus, we don't really collectively see each other too much throughout the season. So it's nice to be able to have that sort of condensed experience through the back end and, have those, I guess, learnings, pre-game and in review, once again through that sort of shared experience. I think there's a lot of good that comes from that as well. Yeah.
Speaking of big games this weekend, free-to-air TV, Warringah hosting Sydney Uni, both top four, two stacked sides as well, Rat Park, hopefully a sunny day. What's the feeling like ahead of a game like that for you, and how excited are you for it?
Yeah, mate, look, really excited. I think it's a really easy game to get yourself up for when you see that. So once again, just, honoured to be a part of it, and looking forward to it, mate. I think it'll be a really good contest. They've obviously both got really good set piece and expansive backlines. So hopefully we get some open running footy, and it's a good spectacle for all.
A lot gets made around Warringah's breakdown with Barnabas, Reimer. Sydney Uni contest that heavily as well. They're very mobile, very big. What does a battle like that sort of set up from a refereeing perspective? Is that something you focus on, or you let the game come to you? And how does the communication work around something like that? Because we see the scrum and the front row meetings, but then how does that breakdown picture sort of eventuate from a central perspective?
Yeah, look, I think, players obviously sort of test the boundaries early just to see where, things are at from a standard point of view. And I guess we want to be clear in terms of our expectations throughout the game early. Once again, like you said, both teams have got good sort of back rows, and it'll be hotly contested, no doubt. So I guess it just means that you're sort of on and you're really sort of concentrating that little bit more at every sort of breakdown, because there is just that. There's less of the contest where players will sort of stand off. You're going to get a lot more sort of competition. So I definitely think you need to be sort of have that sort of laser focus, I guess, at the breakdown. And we do a lot of team of three sort of work in the lead up as well around sort of where our roles are and how we can sort of help have that sort of team performance that's going to best sort of fit the game. And as you said, we'll just adapt to sort of what presents and is in front of us.
James Quinn's famous for having a choc milk and eating sushi just before a game. Do you have a pre-game routine, anything to rival the oddity of James Quinn?
Yeah, mate. Look, I do enjoy my sushi as well, mate. To be honest, in the game, it's a good snack before running around, a little bit lighter. But I certainly give the chocolate milk a pass, mate. Yeah, don't know what he's thinking there. Yeah.
No, neither. Drew, always a pleasure. Congrats on the milestone this year, and good luck this weekend. We look forward to catching up again really soon.
Thanks, Will. Really appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for having me.
3 rounds to go in the regular season. As we just heard, Tom Coolican, Warringah, Sydney University, Byron Smith, Dru Tonks joining us on the shootout. Round 1, everyone was optimistic about Sydney Uni's resurgence. They got a massive wake-up call, but this is the matchup we thought maybe we were going to get in round 1. Everyone's improved. Warringah still one of the top dogs, but 9 now, 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon, Rat Park. Can't wait for this one. How do you see it?
Oh, look, having played at Rat Park and toured to play and win there, it's a really hard venue. It's a hostile crowd. It's a hard place to travel to. It's a hard place, to win at. You need luck, you need bounce of the ball, and you execute opportunities when they're on offer. That first round at Sydney University, Jackson Rapata, he's no longer in the side. Ben Willett's not playing either. These are big omissions. These are big players that are missing from the side. No Glenn Vahu, that was touched upon by Byron Smith as well. I think the Rats here are probably lacking that X factor out wide. There's 2 changes. Tristan Leffers has moved to the wing with Jarrett out, and Oscar Inacio comes in at outside centre, the former Gordon Colt. Not ideal changes. They'd probably much rather have Jackson Rapata, but he's chasing good rugby over in the NPC. University, 1 change. Darcy Breen comes in for Eddie Mawala, the tight head prop. That's an all Super Rugby front row. Tom Lambert spent time in the Wallabies squad for Laufingers, a Wallaby. Darcy Breen, has been in and around the Brumbies. He's a solid player. Matt Phillip there at tight head lock. That's a first class University set piece from a line-out and scrum perspective. And Matt Phillip will pick apart your line-out defensively if you underthrow. We've seen Wes Thomas be hit and miss from a line-out perspective. If I look at their performance last week, University were up 26-0 after 16 minutes. A lot of edges and gaps, I think, probably around their fringe ruck defence, which the Rats will look to exploit. We've seen Dru Tonks referee this Rats side. I think there's been some disagreements with how he interprets the breakdown, but that's how the Rats have thrived, under Boyd Killingworth in that back row, Jack Barnabas, Zach Barnabas, and Luke Reimer. If the Rats are able to slow down and win the collision and then allow a contest through a low chop tackle, this game is going to turn into absolute trench warfare. But if University can execute their set piece, win the scrum, win the maul, and then win the collisions and the contact, and not allow that Warringah back row into the game, they'll roll them. They'll roll them easily. This University side is going the right way in the right part of the season. Ollie Harvey's been a huge addition at number 8. He's been brilliant the last 2 weeks. The Ollie Schmoon and Joe Fowler coming into play. McGregor out wide. Fucker Fanal's been the secret sauce as well. It's a massive ask here. I think Joe Sessi needs to step up, show the X factor like he did versus Eastern Suburbs 2 weeks ago. I think Ben Fui-Nui needs to step up, as Byron Smith. But Luke Reimer, like the Super Rugby player, the Wallaby versus the Wallaby, this is what you want. You need your Wallabies to turn up against Silent City University. And that's going to be key for me. If Luke Ryan puts a big shot on, a big turnover, a big play at the start, sets the tone, I think the Rats will follow him. But it all depends on those big plays and those big moments. I think University will probably do this game by 8.
You fire me up when you start talking football, Tom Coolican. Gordon versus West Harbour, 3rd versus 11th. That said, they stack up really well. Similar sort of lineups, body shape, styles. Gordon may be more attack from anywhere and kick the ball away, rely on their turnover and collision. West Harbour build up their set piece. That is strong. Repeat phases as well. The scrum, we know Cam Orr is really just driving those standards. Tafunga starts in the 2nd row. Wood at 6. Brandon Quinn starts on the wing. They're not bad changes for Gordon. They lose nothing. Very settled West Harbour side. Stars around the park. Still Jack Debrasini. Still Pete Samu, who has just been doing great things for West Harbour. Hunter Hannaford at fullback's been great. Love what West Harbour have done. Would it surprise me if they won? It would. Would I be completely shocked? Not really, but it would be a massive upset. Gordon, they just are finding ways to win in different ways too, through phases of the games at the moment. So heavy favourites, Gordon. They don't want to start dropping games knowing that Sydney Uni are close. So they'll be ready for this one and understand the great things West Harbour's been doing. The whole competition's aware. So I think Gordon should win this and pull away a little bit like they did against Norths. Cool. Eastwood versus Eastern Suburbs. It's a massive clash for Eastwood. Ben Batcher described East's win against Western Sydney as lucky, but good sides can sometimes win lucky games. This is another big one.
Completely. And counting down the games that are to be played at TG Milner, and Ben Batcher, a former Eastwood coach and premiership winner himself, is going to have some mixed emotions probably about heading back to TG Milner, to his old club as a player and as a coach. Unchanged Eastwood side. Look, they were competitive, in that game, versus Warringah last week. Talked about it 22-17 with 15 minutes to go. They were a chance. Warringah just running away with it. Too much cattle and too many fresh legs off the bench. Scott Young coming off is going to be a big impact for them. And if they can have 2 or 3 players coming off the bench at that key 60, 65th minute, depending on how the game is flowing from a mental perspective, look, they're a chance. There's 6 changes this Eastern Suburbs side. Jack Nelson-Murray comes in for Pattinson. Tom Girl comes in for Nick Cross. That's 2 big ins. Hockafun out with Josh Valalutu, who comes in at open side flanker. Teddy Wilson's been training with the Wallabies all week, which is interesting. So Connor Tupai has come back from Samoa. Otto Serpentine's out with Nick Grigg coming in. And no Chris Bell with Louis Fenwick coming in at fullback. And, Sid Harvey isn't playing either. He hasn't, to be candid, really excelled in the Shute Shield, like we thought he would have. He hasn't really fired into gear. But that's a lot of changes against pretty much an unchanged Eastwood side. Look, I think East need to go back to their basics and what they do well against Eastwood. It's their set piece. And that's what Jed Gillespie has done with this side all season. And, look at that win versus Warringah 2 weeks ago. Josh Boxer rolling up his sleeves. Rion Lowry rolling up his sleeves. Rob Cobb, rolling up his sleeves. Will Harris probably needs to start to step up here. He's a Super Rugby, qualified and quality player. He needs to really kind of own the physicality, and the contest here from a breakdown and ball carrying perspective. He's a big body. And we've heard, obviously rumours of Nick Champion Decrepney coming back a week later versus Sydney University Eastern Suburbs next week. I think this is Will Harris's dress rehearsal for that game. He needs to own the Shute Shield. He's been in the competition all season. It's time for him to make a statement. Nick Rigg as well at outside centre, replacing Otto Serpentine. He's got to come out swinging. We know what he does at the advantage line. He's a hard man to tackle, low centre of gravity. Andrew Smith, the Munster product too. Look, there needs to be probably a big win here for East to have that confidence for Sydney University next week because momentum's on their side, one would feel. I think this will be a tight game. East will be too good. But I think the competition is really tightening as we get sort of to the tumultuous stage, of the season. Looking forward to seeing East will compete for 60-65 and East run away with it.
A little bit of inside mail from you as well, Champion de Crepney. There was a lot of word that he might be coming back this week, but we've been told it'll be the week after. So this is the time of year you want to really be dialing it up and watching many of these contests. And this next one, Southern Districts, Western Sydney Two Blues. It's 12th versus 9th on the ladder. The Two Blues still mathematically a chance to make the finals. Southern Districts continue to do really good things. They're fighting, they're staying in it, they're pushing. A lot of good individual performances as well, but they just haven't had that success towards the end of a contest. It's the same front row, including Madam Markley, who you spoke about, scored a double last week. Tithley's in for Duke on the side of the scrum. Ruwetti starts in the centres. Otherwise, Southern District's unchanged. The Two Blues, an all-new front row. Manakia starts at 6. Yona is the only other change. He starts at 12 to partner Tetamaki in the centres. Two Blues should win. Tynan Motors Park, though, Southern Districts, foreshore, hard place to go to. You'd love to see a response from a Two Blues side of things, the way they couldn't find a way against Eastern Suburbs. But Southern Districts will be looking at the final 3 games, desperate to not finish without a big scalp. And maybe they consider this one their one. So Southern Districts versus Two Blues, another one that it'll be fascinating to watch. Fun too. The ball will get thrown around. They'll be running it from everywhere. Great wingers, good outside backs. And then, Kula, we move to Randwick versus Manly, another fascinating clash.
When we talk about, the Wallabies players playing over at West Harbour and Oval, but Andrew Kellaway, to have him back in the competition is just brilliant. And playing with the Barbarians a few weeks ago, he was a starting Wallaby player last year, and for him to roll his sleeves up and come back in, and also partner the likes of Tristan Riley, James Hendren, 6 changes for this Randwick side, but littered with stars, Bill. Meany is out for Ollie Atkins, presumably he's going to be on the bench. Tyler Mabry is out with Nita Finau, and McCormack is also out with Justice Taval, who's also at tight end prop. Bursey is out with Max Moore at blindside flanker. Ison Isarani's back for Vincent. That's a massive in. Nick Chan's out with Tristan Riley back. Gage Phillips is out with Matthias Jensen, the camera product who's also on the wing. It's probably the best Randwick side we've seen, and that's just the 15. Let alone the players off the bench as well.
Yeah.
That's who you want coming back at this time of the season. I think that's what makes everyone a little bit nervous at Easts and at the Warringah Rats camp is looking at University, looking at Gordon, and looking at this Randwick side. These are sides that on their day can knock each other off. And there's been a massive condensing of the competition with all these quality players coming back towards the end. Manly, Mafaleo's out with Sayago, who's in at tighter prop. Teo Teo's out with Tiffin in the back row, and Daly Bird's also out. Tia Lima comes in. Max Lehman's out is in with Ponton on the bench. Will Kay, the kicker, misses his first game. Kenny Wells shuffles to the wing, and Foliaki is in at outside centre. Look, 5v8, I think Manly will probably be looking towards next season. Billy Dickens and Joe Dillon have been brilliant for them. Caden Neville, that's going to be an exciting battle there in the tight. But look, I think we're all looking forward to a try to hit Coogee Oval and seeing the likes of Tristan Riley, Johnny Chan, Kellaway and Jensen just tear it up. I think it'll be a high-scoring game. Again, close probably in the first 50, 60 minutes, and then Randwick will run away from it. Galloping Greens in full flight. the Ellas, the Campeses, all these names, David Knox that we've seen down there, ex-Wallabies, down at Coogee Oval. I think there'll be a lot of people there. Randwick, Manly, doesn't matter where Manly's sitting on the table. It's going to be a great game. It'll be a great afternoon. Looking forward to seeing Andrew Kellaway there in the Myrtle Green and hopefully scoring some points in front of a big home crowd, Will.
Love that. Hunter Wildfires back at home versus Northern Suburbs, 10th versus 7th. Intriguing how Hunter bounced back. Similarly, Northern Suburbs, Mike Gillard is back, and so too is Phil Talaleva after the late call up to the under-20s. Did a great job. Excellent to see both of the Talalevas in full flight in the Blue Crown Capital Shute Shield and with Hunter Wildfires. It's an unchanged backline for Hunter. They'll be hard to beat at home. They always are. They've played some enormous phases through 2026. If they can run this one out, they'll beat Northern Suburbs, no doubt about it. But Norths will be fired up. Didn't go their way at home. Gordon got on top of them in a couple of distinct and significant moments in that game. Sam Shepherd starts in the second row for Norths. Marshall Lemaitre also back in after the under-20s and raring to go. We heard from him on the broadcast. Dan Parks doing his best work on the sidelines. Donnell was great on debut. Gets another run on the wing. Nathan Russell returns to start at outside centre and the other changes for North. So that'll do us. Round 16 in the Blue Crane Capital Shute Shield. Coolo, thank you to you. A reminder is our match of the round is on 9 Gem 9 now, Saturday afternoon. Warringah versus Sydney University, but great clashes and we can't wait for the next little while.
Yeah, as we go into the pointy end, Sydney University getting a lot of airtime. They've got the Rats away and then Easts away, to cap that off, and Eastwood after that as well. So, look, each side's condensing. That top 6 is looking very sharp, very pointy. Remember, final footy, all bets are off. So looking forward to seeing how the momentum shapes the finals as we go into the business end of the season, Will.